Hello and welcome to BetterExaminations. Today we're going to learn how to work with the Math Cloze question type. Creating questions in BetterExaminations can be done from two places. Within a course, I can work in my question bank here, or I can open an exam and I can add a question to my question bank directly from the exam view by clicking Create New Question. Today, I'll be working from the question bank. However, the steps are the same regardless of where you create your question. I'll start by clicking Create. The first thing I'll be asked to do is give this question a title. I'll call it Math Cloze, but you should name it something that's meaningful for you so you can find it when searching. Next up, I'll click Add New. Select Math from the left column and select the Cloze Math question type. The first thing I'll be asked to do is compose my question. I'll keep it simple for today. If I want, I can enter these values as latex. To do so, I'll click the Math Input button here, which will open a graphical interface where I can add my latex. I can also click View Source and add my latex directly here. I'm going to add my latex in the graphical interface for a equals 2 and b equals 4. Now this example formula was already added, and I can see how this will look from a student perspective by clicking the Preview button on the top right. It says, solve the equation when a equals 2 and b equals 4. Now, if I enter my answer here as 6, it's not auto-corrected yet. And let's see why. I'll move back to edit mode. If I wanted to change the formula, I could double click on this to enter a new formula here. If there's more than one response input, I can add another response input by clicking the response button here. Today we'll work with a single response. Next up, I have to choose the number of points that will be awarded to the student if they get the correct answer. I'll choose 5. Then, for each response that I entered in the formula template, I'll have a response accordion that I can fill out here. So let's open up the accordion for response 1. I'll have a method input, which we'll talk about in a moment, but the most important input is the value. This is the correct value expected from the student in the response text box. We'll say it's 6 for this answer. Now, when we go back and preview the exam and enter in the value 6, we'll see we're awarded the full 5 points. Let's switch back to edit mode now. There are many different methods to calculate whether the input provided by the student matches the value. By default, we have it set to Equiv literal. This means we expect the student to enter the value exactly 6. I could change it to Equiv value, which means that if a student enters 6, that will be considered correct. But if they enter 6.0, that will also be correct. It is the same value. Let's see that by going to Preview and entering 6.0. And as you can see, it's still marked as correct. There are many other scoring methods. In the description to this video, there's a link to documentation that goes into more detail on all of them. But the most important are Equiv literal and Equiv value. I'll set it back to Equiv literal. The other options that I have below my value are dependent on my scoring method. In this case, it's asking me, do I want to ignore the order? So if the expected answer is 6 plus 3, do I want to also accept 3 plus 6? Do I want to ignore trailing zeros? So for example, that means 6.0 is the same as 6.00. Do I want to ignore a coefficient of 1? That means that 1x is the same as x. Do I want to allow decimal marks? I can apply more than one scoring method to my response at the same time. To do so, I can click Add here. This allows me to apply multiple scoring methods. For example, is factorized and Equiv value. This means I can ensure that the inputted value from the student is factorized as well as being the correct value. Next up, we'll look at scoring options. I can select this box if I want this question to not be scored. For example, if it's being used for practice. Penalty points are negative marks applied to students when they get the answer incorrect. So if I were to set this to 1 and a student entered the wrong answer, they would be awarded -1 points instead of 0. I can add a check answer button. This allows students to verify they've got the correct answer on the question. If check answer attempts is set to 0, it means they can check their answer multiple times. If it's set to 1, it means they can just check their answer once. There are a number of scoring types available. Exact match is what you'll be using most of the time, but there'll be more information about scoring types in the description below this video. If I want to manually score this question, as opposed to it being auto-scored, I can uncheck this box, which will allow me to apply manual scoring as opposed to auto-scoring. For now, I'll keep auto-scoring enabled. The next settings are all about how the question is laid out. I can choose stem numeration. This is only for marking view. I can choose the font scale, the response width for students in pixels. I can choose the width and height of the question in pixels and add an ARIA label for improved accessibility. If I have more than one response container, here, I can add different rules for the different response containers. So I can add another one and give that a separate width and height from the first response container. Next up, we have the keypad. When a student clicks into a Cloze math question response, they'll be provided with a keypad input. This can be set to floating, block, block on focus, or native/no symbols. Let's look at the difference between them. I'll set it to floating, and we'll scroll up and click the preview on the top right. When I click on this, the response input floats directly where I clicked on the input box. Let's change it to block. And now, when I click preview, it's displayed all the time, regardless of whether I've clicked into the box or not. I can choose to customize my number pad, including adding different groups for different types of math input, and I can even add a custom group that just has the symbols that I need. And finally, we have acknowledgements and sample answer. These are not shown to students and are only used for your own reference internally. When I'm done, I can scroll up to the top and click Save. And that's it for creating Cloze math question types. If you have any further questions, you can always reach out to us by clicking the in-app chat on the bottom right of your screen.